This is an area of Dorset in England. It's called Studland. It's renowned for its beautiful beaches. And I like to come here for the sea glass. Here's a really nice piece of aqua sea glass that I found just lying on the beach. And the cliffs are gorgeous white chalk cliffs. And I wanted to bring you here so I could talk a little bit about what it means to be a sea priestess to me. So, the sea, I think everyone can understand that the sea has some symbolism to it. It represents the liminal space that is in between, and as such, it represents a state of consciousness that is in between and the ability to travel from one place to another, because the sea is it's not home to humans. It's just a place that humans travel across, and as such it doesn't have its own human culture. Like, you could say that each land or each country has its own culture, its own language, that has developed over time, but the sea is like that transition point between the two. And I think that's significant for anyone who can recognize that they have mixed cultural heritage. We all have some sort of mixture. Nobody's like a pure breed, this, that, or the other. Everybody is a mixture of different heritage from different ancestors mixing and traveling and exchanging cultures over the years. So the sea is that which enables us to travel vast distances from one land to another, to exchange ideas and to develop culturally across the world. The sea also represents a boundary between one life and another, as many myths tell of an afterlife world that is located on an island somewhere across the sea. So I've lived in various places during my lifetime, but for the most part I've lived by the sea, and I've been really lucky to have that as part of my everyday life, being able to just go down to the beach, it's right there, and enjoy that place as, a leisure attraction kind of thing. It's something that attracts tourism a lot, and I think that's a strong part of British culture, is that the sea and the beach is always associated with holidays, with leisure time, and it's seen as a place of like rejuvenation. It's where you go to, when you're tired and you've had a long working week, you go to the beach and you unwind and you relax and you reset yourself. And I think it has that kind of healing power to it. It's always been known as a place to go for healing. You go to the sea because that salt water is known to have um, you know healing effects for the body, as well as for the mind, for the spirit. I think there's something about sea air which really lifts you, and it's something to do with the negative ions, if you know anything about that. If you could ask somebody who understands science talk, research what negative ions are, because that's something that you experience when you're by the sea, or when you're by like a waterfall, or maybe in a rainforest, anywhere where there's that reaction between water and sunlight and the air. It charges the particles in the air, so that it has this uplifting effect on you when you're in that space. So the sea is inherently like a place of healing, as well as being a place of like life and death, because it gives you healing, it gives you life. It provides food, sustenance. If you're somebody who lives on shellfish, on seafood of whatever type, maybe seaweed as well, you can eat various types of seaweed. So it provides sustenance in many ways, but it also takes life, because it's so easy for a human to lose their life in the sea, to drown. And every day we seem to hear of cases of refugees attempting to escape war zones and drowning in the sea, and it's horribly tragic. that the sea can both offer great hope for people who want to travel and who want to get away from where they are and find hope in some distant land. But at the same time, it's this huge kind of source of fear and anxiety is that it is a dangerous crossing point. And I think that's why it has strong associations with the crossing point between life and death, life and the afterlife. Holds this great amount of fear for humans because it is this unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, some people feel more at ease than others. Some people feel like they know what's going on and they're happy with it. And for some people, it's a source of great hope. The idea of an afterlife and meeting people who have passed on, meeting their ancestors, experiencing some sort of paradise. I think that's a part of a lot of cultures, is the idea of the sea as that place that the souls are able to travel across into the afterlife, and that the afterlife could be like an island, like a paradise island that you arrive at. And I think, yeah, there's so many layers to the symbolism of what the sea means, and so what it means to be a sea priestess. Being a sea priestess is more than just living by the beach and enjoying the seaside. Um, it's about what that sea means on a symbolic level, and priestessing, of course, that has a whole kind of world of symbolism to it as well. What does it mean to be a priestess? I think it can mean different things to different people, but I think one of the most important aspects of being a priestess is being a facilitator for transformative experiences of healing, of crossing over from one world into the next. It can be for, you know, the experiencing the afterlife, getting in touch with spirits, getting in touch with your ancestors, and it can also be about traveling mentally, and experiencing different states of consciousness. And I think those are the most important roles of a priestess, is to facilitate that for other people and to help people experience transformative rites, as well as like rites of passage in your lifetime. And I try to do that in my day-to-day life. I don't know, as much as I can, because the role of a priestess has changed a lot. You know, in modern day, the modern day priestess really can struggle to find her place in society, because, you know, the economy doesn't really support that role as much. So it can be really difficult, you know, learning how to balance money, retail. You know, do you sell your services? Do you charge for what you do? How can you live a normal life in the modern world at the same time as being a priestess? Is it something that you juggle with like a day job, or is it something that you're able to commit yourself to like full time? For me personally, you know, I have to have a day job in order to pay the rent. I can't just be a full-time priestess, although I think that it does come into your everyday life, in the sense that even in the little things that you do day to day, you know, when you're at work, or when you're walking the dog, or picking up the kids from school, or whatever it is that you're doing, I think there is something that you can do to be that priestess, to emulate that priestess energy. And I think that's about staying spiritually connected in everything that you do. And I know that's difficult. I know that it's so easy to just become, you know, absorbed in your activities that you need to do to survive, that you kind of forget that spiritual oneness. And I think the sea really invites us into oneness, into that state of mind of oneness. And I think that it represents this this ability to dissolve and become absorbed into a state which is fluid and which is all encompassing. You know, the sea is just so vast, and it takes everything into it to become one great fluid mass. And I think that it helps us to look at the sea in this way as like a metaphor for the whole universe, for the way everything flows and the way everything moves as one being, even though we might think of things as like, you know, individual separate little parts, like little cogs in a machine, you know, ticking away. We might see things as separate little parts, and each part has its role to play. But on another level, we can see that, you know, there's this great fluidity of like the particles moving around, flowing, swishing, you know. It's that side of things that we can't necessarily see, you know, with our naked eyes. We can't really understand how those particles are just kind of moving around on that what's that word for the tiniest part? I forget. You know, quantum. That's the word. On a quantum level, understanding that there is this great ocean of space between each tiny little particle. You know, I think things like that, when you consider, you know, the state of reality that we understand as humans. We understand reality on this level of like, okay, there are people and there are things, and there are, you know, plants and trees, and there are rocks and stones, and, you know, we understand things from that level. But a quantum level, it's all just like a whole different world, and that is a great big ocean of these tiny little particles and these tiny little atoms whirling around, and it's all like cosmic, you know. It's just like planets and stars spinning around. And so you have like the quantum level of like these tiny little atoms, and then the cosmic level of like when you go greater, bigger, going out there into the universe, we come to the same state of being, of like just swirling, you know, particles or planets, suns and stars, you know, all swirling in this great cosmic ocean. And to me, that's really what the sea represents, is that the cosmic ocean, the quantum ocean, the ocean that is the entire universe, and enabling yourself to be in that state of mind, and enabling other people to access that as well. I think that's what it means to be a sea priestess. So let me know what you think of this. And of course, I want to mention very quickly where I first came across this term, sea priestess, was this book by Dion Fortune, The Sea Priestess. It's a fictional book, but it's all about this priestess who arrives and who has all this information to impart about Atlantis, and about Avalon, and about this whole other world of mythology and ritual and religion and spirituality. And she enables this guy who's just like this regular guy just living a normal life to enter into this world of like mysticism and magic and wonder. And that's kind of what the story is all about. And it's inspired a lot of people to kind of look at this role of the sea priestess and think of it as something, you know, it's not necessarily just fictional, it's something that you can be in your everyday life. And that's why I got this book as well. It's called The Way of the Sea Priestess by Louise Tarrier, which talks about, you know, being a sea priestess as a kind of religious, spiritual path. And I think it has clear influences from this book, Priestess of Avalon, Priestess of the Goddess, by Kathy Jones, which talks about the role of a priestess, and understanding what Avalon means as an otherworldly place, as a mystical island in the sea. So yeah, those are some of the influences. If you want to read up about what a sea priestess is, then check out those books. But otherwise, just let me know what you think in the comment section below. And thank you very much for watching this. I'll see you next time. Sending you many blessings, love and light. Namaste.